While the board members are philosophizing about new AI tools and strategies and what to do with AI, their employees are starting to upload sensitive data into the tools and platforms to get home earlier. Is that true?
Marco, that's absolutely true. And this is happening quite often, at least in the German enterprise landscape. We have seen last 3 years since ChatGPT and now other Anthropic, for example, it became more widely popular. Most companies were not ready for an AI implementation and adoption. So there was no AI adoption strategy, etc. What happened was that many employees started using shadow AI. Shadow AI is a word which might not many people are aware of, but shadow AI is when your employees are using AI, for example, ChatGPT, on their private mobile phones, private laptops, and doing the company work. So that relates to putting the company trade secrets, sensitive information, compliance related information, client data to these AI models, which is then used to train those models, and that basically sums up the data breaches and compliance issues. So as one of the founders of DeepMask, and as it being a German company, we really support the work-life balance. So we do appreciate if somebody can be efficient and go home early to be with their family and loved ones. However, when the data is being shared with the AI models, with AI tools, which are not regulated by your compliance teams, what happens is that majority of the AI-driven models are from the American or the Chinese companies. And being in Germany, being in the European Union, we have Datenschutz. We have the guidelines for data protection, GDPR regulations. We have the EU AI Act. We are basically living in a regulated environment. So sharing our company data first breaches those guidelines for data protection or the Datenschutz. That's number one.
And sometimes it's also not clear for a user who is using then the AI what kind of data and implications it has, because maybe you are just giving some data points that as a single do not make any sense. You cannot retrieve any data from it. But if you do it too often, you create a pattern. So, and this pattern in the end makes also a certain insight into what you are doing, who you are, with what data you deal. And I think that is also quite a big risk for companies.
So absolutely, like if there's a company with a legacy of 100 years, 50 years, and they're hidden champions, which means they have mastered a particular technology or a particular trade, which gives them the leverage to be a market leader. But putting their data on AI, which could be used to train models to understand patterns, and on a very plain level, just somebody using those data points, if it's not secured, basically those companies will lose their market standing. Because if you know the recipe of KFC, then everybody can open a KFC, right? So that's what protecting your data is a critical thing. And now with the use of AI, which is unregulated in most cases, if you're using, let's say, foreign clouds, like we basically use the Schwarz Group cloud, the Stackit, and happy that sitting in Heilbronn, that at least puts your data under the German regulations or the European. But if you're dealing with the foreign clouds like American or Chinese or others, what are you gonna do if there's a data breach? Are you gonna take them to the court? Where are you gonna take them? So that's a big risk for enterprise, and that's where we are trying to solve that.
So, but now what happens if such a data loss, data breach was discovered?
When a data leak is discovered, the first thing would be that having the right tools to discover that the data has a leakage. Because many German companies, every day they're leaking their data, but they never understand it, they never realize it, and they have no right tools to understand that particular data leakage.
But let's say now I'm a client of a company and I find out this data can only have that company where I'm the client.
on
And it landed now somewhere into the world and is actually protected by NDA. Yeah.
It's first of all, it's a very heavy lawsuit, and on average, around German companies are losing 4 million euros, and it goes upwards of 50, 100 million, depending
As a fine,
on
then.
as a fine for sure. Like because, but still, that's the good part of working together with German to German companies or German to European companies. That even if I found out that you leaked our data, we still can take you into court here in Germany. But if you're an American company or a company coming out of China or somewhere else, we have to abide by those rules, right? So there's a huge loss of money, absolutely. Then there's a loss of trust of your customers when they get to know that there was a data leak of their data. So it's a Pandora box once opened. You know, there's many things coming out of it. We as DeepMask see that in 3 different stages. If you're a leader, if you're a decision maker, if you are leading a department.
What exactly is DeepMask? Can you explain a little bit?
I'll go further to that as well. In a nutshell, in a small, simple way, we are the solution to protecting your data while you using AI. So we are the layer between your employees, yourself as a company, uploading your sensitive data, trade secrets, because we work with Schwarz Group, Schwarz Digits, which means that all your data stays in Germany, is hosted in Germany, and we use a good variation of open source models. For people who don't know about open source, those are AI models which anybody can use, but you need a hardware like GPUs, RDUs to run those. I'm not going to go in technical details.
So I can host it myself.
You
I can keep it in my
underground, and then yes, exactly.
Yeah.
But you need to invest. But luckily, we have done that investments for our customers that we can basically create also more on a wider level.
So there is 2 possibilities in the end. I can have it in my underground, in my Rechenzentrum data center.
Yeah, exactly.
And host it my own. Or I can say DeepMask has done it already, and I take it just shared with other clients, let's say, but I have my bucket.
You have your bucket, which is basically in an isolated environment. Your data is not shared. We do also offer frontier models like OpenAI models, Anthropic, Gemini, because we don't want a corporate to lose out of the latest models while keeping them still protected under the European laws. So great part about AI is, if you were a company coming out of, let's say, northern Germany, implementing the right AI on your technology can make you a market leader in 5 years while reducing your cost, because AI has opened doors for every country, every person.
And in the end, it's a race at the moment.
It's a race. So
first mover advantage.
Exactly. We will see companies coming out of nowhere and becoming market leaders, but companies who today are market leaders losing that, like happened to Nokia back in the days, that they lost the mobile phone race, right? So adapting, changing, and as a company, DeepMask, we help our clients for that. We have our own SaaS tool. It's very similar to Claude. So a lot of people like to use Claude, but everything is secure. And we are based out of Munich. We have an office in Nuremberg. So we are a very rooted German company.
This is a very major problem, the cost. So if I'm dependent on a provider of any AI model, what happens then? Or what could happen to me if I consume it now and I consume it in 1 year?
So there's a very good, let's say, analysis in the AI world. There's always a fight between open source and closed source. So when someone of your listeners is using ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, this is closed source models.
Proprietary.
Exactly. That's like you pay them and then they give you a service. Open source is that you have the model available online. You can download it, but again, you need an infrastructure to run it.
But that means also I'm later in charge to keep the model updated.
You have to keep updating the models, and that's what DeepMask does for our customers. So you as a user can do everything, but we do it for you. And
so I have no headache.
No headache, and it's very inexpensive. So it's not expensive, so you can always try it. And then if you want to do it yourself, our team is also happy to guide our customers how they can do it themselves. The question you asked, like at the moment, OpenAI, Anthropic, and other big American companies, they have investments from very big venture capital, private equities, which means that if you are getting an AI, which is at the moment you pay 10 euros, the original cost of that AI is around 100 to 150 euros. Because the 140 euros is being paid by investors right now.
Mm-hmm.
What will happen that in a couple of years, these companies will go public, or the investors will stop putting the money, and then the prices will increase. So for the same amount of question and answer, when you were paying 10 euros, now you're going to pay 100 euros.
That means if I have an AI model in my company and I'm making a service that is dependent on this model, then I end up maybe losing a lot of money or being not productive anymore and failing in delivering at least the break-even point.
Absolutely.
So I make a loss in the end because the prices go up.
Exactly, because the model providers, after 1 month of notice, will increase the price.
Mm-hmm.
But you as a company built on top of that model, you cannot increase those prices.
Yeah, maybe I have a contract and the price is set for 1 or 2 years.
Exactly. And what will happen is, and which everyone is seeing now, ChatGPT, Claude, they already start putting limits. Mm-hmm. So after 3 prompts, they say, sorry, you have reached your limit. And because it's a proprietary tool, they own the tool, you cannot do anything.
Yeah.
There are only 2 ways. Either you stop your work or you pay more to get more limits. Mm-hmm. With open source, it's your model. You can run it as many times you want. There is still energy cost. But if an open source model will cost you, for example, €1, these models will cost you 10 euros. But in 2 years, the open source can stay to €1 and they can go to 100 euro. Mm-hmm. But as DeepMass, we have all the models with fair usage policies. And
means really everything. ChatGPT, Gemini.
ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, Quen, Kimi, GLM, Minimax, and around more than 30 plus models.
So to most people, I think this was now like Chinese.
Yeah, there are open source models. Yeah. And a lot of people have a bit misconception on China, that they are using a lot of data and they are stealing data.
You never know also about the models themselves if they maybe have a leak somewhere and push the data. How about this?
And this is very good question. As we are a tech company, we do test those models before. Mm-hmm. These are called back challenge basically.
You are testing them.
Yeah.
No data is collected and in the background somehow sent to the owners of
Absolutely. And you know what, as I know that you're also in the tech industry as well, so we use very traditional ways to do that. Mm-hmm. So we have some offline transistors which we connect the model to, and we put 100 prompts, and then we see in the back code of the model if there's any flow outside what should not be there. So we do our tests before we make them live. So there might be a new model which is sending data back to China. But again, it's not only about during you query the AI, it's not about that only, it's 20%. The 80% is when you upload anything, where does it stay? For example, very quickly, when you go to a bank and you have money or gold, you put it in a locker. Would you go to a bank in America and put your gold? No, you will put it in Germany.
Yeah.
And then you say, yeah, because I go to US, and when I go to US, then I wear that gold chain, watch, whatever. Yes, okay, when you go there, it's fine to put it there. But you live in Germany 80% of the time. Mm-hmm. And this is where nobody is asking this question more often, where my data remains when I'm done with the query, when I'm done with the prompt. And in this case, as I said, like we are in Germany, there are a couple of startups which say they are sovereign, secure AI, but they use American cloud infrastructure hosted in Frankfurt. But again, if you use American infrastructures, that's again, the policies of Cloud Act are applied, but I'm not going to bore the audience with that.
Mm-hmm. So does it mean now, if I'm the owner of a Mittelstand company, that I immediately have to stop now my operations in AI, or what is now the next steps I would need to do?
First of all, if you are a Mittelstand CEO or managing director, we never recommend to just quickly stop everything. We always go with the first step of trying to understand what you are using the AI for. For example, if you are creating marketing posts, videos, that's fine to still use that unless
Public
there's
information.
public information, newspaper. Like for example, for you guys, I would not say use a secure model because you need more research. That's perfectly fine. But if you're creating manuals, documentation, contracts, vertrags, everything, I would really start thinking how I can create it more securely.
So it means we, or the company, or me as an owner, let's say, of a company, I would need to check for any of my units in the company what data they have access to, because any access to data is always a possibility that an employee or user will just take it and put it into the AI.
Absolutely. And in our application in DeepMask, we have the governance setup. So there's a hierarchical system of who have access to what data, who have access to select models. So we also have a very strong hold on the company hierarchical standards of data data allowance and which kind of data you can access. But my advice would be that look into solutions which are more hosted in Germany, which are more using open source technologies and also offering frontier models. But stopping just now is still what we don't advise because a lot of companies are doing very good in AI.
Thank you very much for this talk.
Thank you very much, Marco, for having us. And yeah, was nice speaking with you.